Today, March 10th, 6:30 p.m. I call to order this regular board meeting, monthly meeting of the Board of Directors of the Fairfield Community School District to be held at 6:30 p.m. on the third Monday of each month. The meeting is open to the public and the public is encouraged to attend. Time is provided in the meeting for public input. The mission of the Fairfield Community School Board of Directors is One Fairfield, where relationships foster growth, protect learners, unlock individual potential, serve every student every day. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yep. Mark Porter.
Here.
Ty Ward.
Present.
Christy Castle. Absent. Megan Dale Robbins.
Here.
Mark Thornton.
Here.
Deborah Williamson.
Here.
Dave Eastburn.
Yep.
Okay, do we have any perfections to the agenda?
We do. I would like to add the Sunrise Trail Agreements under new business as presented. You have a copy of it currently. It would be 7.4, so when we get to new business, we can kind of highlight what that is and then walk through it. And if there's any questions, we can go from there.
Okay, great. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Deborah and Ty. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda is approved, I mean. Okay, so first up we have Focus on Learning. We have a presentation from Tina Townsend, our Washington Elementary principal, and she'll provide an update on the progress toward the building goals.
Good evening.
Hi, Tina.
Hi.
So moving on to the next slide from the welcome. Our first building goal is in the area of academics, which is by the end of the academic year, 100% of students will demonstrate measurable growth through targeted instruction, differentiated support, and continuous progress monitoring. The way we track this goal and this growth is through, for preschool, we use the GOLD assessment data. For kindergarten and first, we use our FastBridge data that we give beginning year, mid-year, and end of year. And we use our WIN MTSS intervention data. Our second building goal is that by the end of the academic year, 100% of students will demonstrate measurable growth through targeted instruction, differentiated support, and continuous progress monitoring. Again, we use the same three goals. GOLD, FAST, WIN, and intervention. The one I did not include on there was our student climate survey that.
He's on the wrong slide. John, next slide. There you go. There it is, Tina.
I'm like, that's not.
You got it.
By the end of the academic year. He's not even paying attention. He's probably dozed off back there and you guys don't even know it.
No, he's listening.
By the end of the academic year, 100% of our students and staff will report a strong sense of belonging based on district-wide survey results. For progress tracking, we use the GOLD for preschool, and then we use the climate survey for kindergarten and first. And these goals come directly from the work that Zach set for the district at our back to school days, and the goals that he set and encouraged us or suggested that we could also use. Next slide, please. Current FastBridge data, again, we want 100% of all of our students to show growth. I believe Zach shared this data with you last month, so we don't have anything more current than our mid-year data. So just a couple of things I would like to point out is that, and you know the font when you put it in the notes is really small. So first with the math data, that I wanted to note that when we assess math data with the end of, or the mid-year assessment, place value is assessed on that assessment. However, we have not explicitly taught place value at that point. So our students are being assessed on something that they have not been taught, and that is reflected in our scores. The other thing I want to point out with this chart, and In our building, we consider it a huge celebration that this is the first time since at least the 18-19 school year that our fall to winter first grade fast reading scores have gone up instead of down. So we were very pleased to see that. And like I said, we went back those 5 years. We might have been able to go back further. Next slide, please. I wanted to make sure that we had some way to include preschool in our presentation this evening. So I met with the preschool team, and Gold has 36 standards. So we didn't really feel like we could take time to share all of those, but we did pick 2 that we were focusing on, and we selected the identifies 10 letters. That's one of the skills that's measured. And you'll see tremendous growth in most of the rooms in all of the rooms, from fall to winter. And then we selected the counting from 1 to 20. So we selected a measure from reading academics and from math academics. They also have social emotional learning. We did not put that on this chart. So, and then again, even then you'll see significant growth in the fall to winter scores in math also. Next slide, please. For the sense of belonging, I referenced the climate survey earlier. This is a survey that our school counselor, Mrs. Rowland, has kindergarten and first grade students do in the fall. So you will see of the first grade students surveyed, it is agree, in between, or disagree. And we measure that we feel safe at school and the grown-ups care for us at school. And I feel like that's pretty positive when you're asking little ones that question, trying to ensure that they have an understanding of what you're asking. So that's what we're measuring for sense of belonging. The next thing I wanted to point out on the next slide is that, and this also stems from our beginning of the year work with Mr. Waggle, and then our PLC Academy participation. We're really focusing on our CLTs, on Richard DeFore's critical thinking 4 questions, asking our students, what do our students need to learn? How will I know when each student has learned that? How will I respond if a student doesn't learn it? And how will I respond if a student already knows it? So this is how we're using CLT time in our weekly CLT meeting, and also on our Friday early outs when we have building time and grade level team time. So their whole focus is on these 4 questions, whatever lesson they're planning for, and then also that's how they're measuring and recording what they're putting in their agendas. We may not see them review each and every question every single time, but they're focusing on at least 1 or 2. Next slide, please. To highlight other things from Washington Elementary for this year, tomorrow night we have our Title I STEM Family Night. It's from 5 to 7. We will be having STEM-related activities in every classroom, and we anticipate having about 250 families attend. We have 41 pizzas ordered, so we're going to be feeding a few people. We also hosted a STEM night, a Title I STEM night in the fall around Halloween, and we had around 250 attend that evening. And we didn't even feed them, so they still came to see us. So I wanted to highlight our partnerships with the high school. We have STEM days every trimester. We have invested in a lot of STEM activities that we save for these days, and our students rotate around by grade level to work on these STEM activities. We usually have anywhere from 12 to 18 high school students that come over and participate in that. Honestly, they just sit with the students and do the activities. So They might be setting and doing marble run with kids, they might be working with Magnetiles with the kiddos, they might be working with Legos with our students, but it's a fun time for everybody. We rotate them through. They get about 10 to 15 minutes at each station. But it's a nice little reward and break from our regular day. And then for our second trimester PBIS Science Reward, we are partnering with Mrs. Smithberg and her science classes. And Wednesday morning, she's bringing over a science class, and we're going to also rotate all of our students through. And they're going to do some Hot Wheels experiments, and I believe the other one is volcanoes. So they will rotate through those, and the high school kids will demonstrate that. So it's just a nice partnership between the high school and the elementary. Our next highlight of the year that I wanted to highlight was the implementation of Leader in Me. We have completed Core 1 training and Core 2 training for all of my certified staff. We have, on our Friday early out that is a Leader in Me day, our associates stay, and we have introduced them to all of the 7 habits from Franklin Covey so that they were seeing the lessons being implemented in the classrooms, but they didn't have that background knowledge of the 7 habits. So that's why we started there with those Leader in Me early out Fridays to utilize that so they could develop that background knowledge of the 7 habits. Also with Leader in Me, our Lighthouse team is established. So we meet in conjunction with our building leadership team once a month because we have a few members that are the same on each team. And they've also established our action teams. So those action teams are meeting, and we've set goals for our next steps. We're moving forward with after our Core 2 training, the 1st of January, we started the WIGs and had the classroom teachers identify those, and we've been measuring those. Our next goal will be, we've kind of talked by possibly after Core 3 training, which is more student and family involvement, possibly moving to student-led conferences, if not next winter, spring, then at least by fall of '26 is kind of a long-term goal. Our student of the month and our student shout-outs, these are a couple of the things that the kiddos, when they were doing the building principal tours last Thursday, really highlighted that they wanted to keep, that they really like having those celebrations through PBIS, and they really love when we have the student shout-outs and they get to come down and we make a phone call home, and they get to pick some treasure from the prize box. So they love those celebrations and that recognition. The next thing I would really like to highlight is our emergency building preparedness team and plan. When I came to Fairfield 4 years ago, our building plan emergency plan was pretty willy-nilly. Due to some trainings and the guidance of John, and our work with I Love You Guys, we have really made a lot of growth there. I think if you ask any of my staff in the building, they would tell you that they feel so much more safe, so much more secure, so much more prepared. And we feel that with the I Love You Guys training, there's preparation and activities for our kids, so they also are better prepared. I know John had commented when we did a lockdown, everything was done like it was supposed to be done. As they were going through and unlocking the doors, kids were not visible. They were all hidden and, just as they should be. And they were quiet, just as they should be. We are making preparations to actually tour with staff our reunification spot. And then we will also, before the end of the year, have our students do a walkthrough to our reunification spot. Our emergency building team meets monthly, and we've made a lot of growth there. We have a spreadsheet and we have staff that ask us questions. We've been able to answer them and, again, make a lot of growth there. Year 2 of our Stuff Your Stocking event, again, we had approximately 250 students that went through that. This is an event that stemmed from some of the surrounding schools' activities. I think one of them has a Halloween trunk or treat. We took that and wanted to invite our community to be able to provide our students and children in the area with a small treat, because we know there are some kiddos that don't get a lot for Christmas. We've had a huge success. We have between 18 and probably 20 community businesses that donate things. I know one of the things, Margie from the radio station, she provided the stockings this year. And I know we've given away toothbrushes, toothpaste, toys, books. Agra Plastics gave stocking hats this year. So the kiddos go home with a stocking stuffed full of trinkets, and it's been a huge success. And like I said, we did year 2 in December, and I would anticipate it's going to continue to grow. Any questions?
I guess I was just curious about, maybe it was 2 slides back, where there was the 4 different kind of boxes with intervention and enrichment. Yeah, this question.
The questions?
Yeah, do you feel like you're able to find a balanced approach for both intervention and enrichment, or do you feel like you guys are
I
strong
feel like
on
it's a
that?
work in progress, that I've worked with a focus of these questions for a lot of years, from a lot of, in several different districts. We have in my staff mixed, some that had seen these questions before when they were doing some PLC work several years ago, to some of the newer staff, they were brand new. So I think teams are still finding their footing on how to use them. So it's a challenge. In our PLC Academy, when we go, and the leader that presents there is from Carlisle, and they've been doing the PLC Academy for a number of years. So just seeing where they're at in like year 8 is, Becky and I attend together with the team, my instructional coach. So it's just, it's a plan of where we would like to see us go. But we can't do it all at once. So, and right now we've kind of left it to the teams to kind of pick what their focuses are for when they're planning. We still need at Washington to work on common assessments so that we know how we will know when each student has learned it. So that, but that's something that we know, that we're aware of. I think this year probably the biggest goal is working together as a team on what we want students to learn, and then that intervention piece of what we're going to do if they don't. I know that probably one of the things I should have included on our highlights is looking at our math data. We knew that, and we talked about this a little bit earlier today, we knew that number sense was something that we needed to develop in our first graders. And we have a protected, we call it WIN time. It's an RTI, response to intervention, or an MTSS, multi-tiered support system in our day for reading. We have that protected 4 days a week, but we didn't have it for math. So we built that in, we invested in, we worked with Lynn Selking, who's the AEA math person. She came in and worked with Becky and I, and looked at what our needs were, and we invested in a number sense supplemental curriculum that was suggested. And so that's what the first grade team have, they've found 20-minute blocks in their day to work with the small groups that the data shows have a need. So they're going back and filling that gap.
Cool. When did that start?
We started that right around Thanksgiving.
I don't think you had the data, but does it go back further than, like, that was just, what, last fall and spring data?
This year data.
Or this year's? Like, is it comparable to previous years, or do we know that?
Like with the reading, like I said, we had 5 years worth that we went back to 18, 19. And this is the first time with first grade that we had seen growth from fall to winter. So yes, can we go back? Yes, we do have that. I didn't go back to that for this presentation.
Sure. Oh, thanks.
I mean, if you want it, I can get it for you.
Sure.
Or I can get it to Zach and he can.
Pass it along,
Yeah, let me go.
for sure.
How about, behavior, issues?
Oh, how about behaviors issue?
How's the support level that, is it kind of the same frequency it's been the last few years? Is the support there, or anything you want to speak on about?
I would say our AEA behavior specialist that's in the building this year is a stronger support. She's doing more coaching with our teachers. I just said to somebody today in our kindergarten classrooms, and I don't just mean our here in Fairfield, I think we're seeing it nationwide. We are seeing more kids come in with higher needs. I had shared with Zach in a conversation earlier, we have probably 8 students in our building who families have shared with us they're supposed to be receiving some kind of counseling services or going to Iowa City for an evaluation of one type or another, and for whatever reason families are choosing not to do that. Those are very high needs kids that unfortunately an elementary building can't provide what they need. So, we have had 3 kids that we have pulled out of the general education classroom and locked them down in a cubicle with a one-on-one, and they're getting their instruction from the classroom teacher via an iPad because their behaviors were so interruptive to the teacher and to the learning of the other students in the classroom, that we had to ask ourselves, how can we continue to educate this child who's entitled to an education, but still educate the classroom and not have that interruption to the others' learning. I'm happy to say that 2 of them have been able to work their way back into the classroom for the majority of the time. 1 kindergartner and 1 first grade student. We have some really high needs. We have, right now on our roster to go into the 4 kindergarten classrooms next year, we already have 13 IEP students. And of those 13 IEP students, only 1 of them is speech only. And probably 4 or 5 of them are already on a behavior improvement plan.
So those high need students, you said that they have chosen not to go to Iowa City. Can they still get the support of the AEA in those situations, or do they have to have a diagnosis from Iowa City?
It depends on the circumstances. Some yes, some no.
I guess my question is, do you have access to what they need, or is there just basically legal hurdles that you have to hop through to get what they need?
With some of the students, in some of the instances, yes, the AEA has the support services that we can provide, and we can provide to them. Some of them have higher needs than we can provide.
Even through the AEA?
Even through the AEA. Most of our outside counseling services that come into the school typically don't take a student until they're 6 years old. So that means that most of my kindergartners don't have access to services. Some do, but.
There's nothing that we can do as a board to help you with that, is there, that you're aware of?
That would be a question for Mr. Waggle. And I don't know that he has any magic answers, but, and here in Southeast Iowa, we're limited in the services we have. a student that we received from Des Moines, she was in a self-contained room and they had called law enforcement on her and hauled her to one of the hospitals to do an evaluation. We don't have that option here in Fairfield. So. Other questions? You have an amazing staff at Washington. It's a great team of teachers, and they're doing a lot of great work, and they're working really hard for our kids.
I think this is your last update before your retirement, so thank you for the time.
Thank you for
you've worked in the last 4 years.
Thank you.
You've done a great job, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So this month, as our meeting is earlier in the month, we've had fewer committee meetings prior to this meeting, so I think there might just be 2 updates. Would like to, Ty, would you like to provide an update on strategic plan, or do you want to hold off until?
Sure. Let me pull up my notes.
Yeah.
Let me pull up the agenda. Yeah, so we just met at 5 o'clock a couple hours ago. And strategic planning, we talked about mission and vision statement. Mr. Weigel has talked to administration and the administrators, and they've come up with some mission and vision that we're gonna be taking a look at pretty soon. I don't know what meeting that's scheduled for, but
April 21st.
there you go. But yeah, we'll be deciding on that. We talked about marketing, talked about how we're marketing, right now we're marketing the Washington. Talking about moving into Pence in the high school, and kind of strategies there. And anything
Right,
else?
we're at the middle school right now.
Oh, we're at middle
Yeah,
school right now.
yeah.
All right, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, so we're talking about kind of our strategy there, what we're gonna highlight, moving into the high school and talking about CTE and stuff like that. Just kind of highlighting that for new ads we put out. We talked about hiring, and we seem to be on a pretty good pace for hiring for next year, which is awesome. Talked about the incentive that we gave to get early notice so we could start hiring early, and what, if that's worked out or not, and it sounds like it helped us get our foot in the door early for everybody. And what else did we talk about? A little bit of AI curriculum, we always kind of bring that up, just kind of getting ready for AI in our classrooms and what we're gonna be teaching kids for that. Having a strategy around it. I think that's about it.
Great, thanks.
Any questions from anybody?
Christy or Mark, do you wanna, Christy?
Yeah, so Evan's been working on the insurance side of things. I'll let him speak more to that because I have not attended those meetings. But we also met just trying to kind of set a direction for the HR committee and what our focus should be and what that's gonna look like. So we're still kind of just finalizing that. So once we kind of have a better idea of what that looks like, we'll share that with all of you. But
And we're gonna talk about insurance.
Oh, I like
In
that.
your-
My
in your
superintendent.
update,
Yep.
okay, cool. And Tristan, I know you have an update for
High
us.
school, you want
Yes.
high school update or you want this?
How about both?
Both,
How about
whatever
both?
you'd like to
Okay.
share.
We'll go with the high school update first. So today, me and Weigel had a slight little meeting at the end of high school's 5th hour. He's like, hey, what if we talk about high school highlights for a little bit? And at the end of this section, I'm like, sure, man. So I reached out to some people I know. So here's some updates from the high school in the past month. First off, 3rd trimester started. We are on day 3 of that at the high school. It's going good. Band and choir, they're getting ready to go on a Disney trip over spring break, so that'll be fun for them. Track has been starting. Tennis starts next week. Play practice for the spring play has started. Golf, I have with a question mark. I wasn't able to find anything out about that, but I assume they'll be starting soon. Jazz choir, the top jazz choir has made it to state. Speech members are going to state. 14 of them are. FBLA FBLA had a state showcase last weekend, and from what I heard, it was good. We have an assembly to celebrate activities at the end of this week that our student council is helping out with. Today, the juniors took the ASVAB test. I could have said that wrong. I don't know. Soccer's starting soon, I assume. And finally, tomorrow night's family bingo night at the high school from 6 to 8 with high school students involved as celebrity bingo callers. So that's my high school update. And then we'll go over to this paper, which was kindly put on your thing by Weigel, which I'm a part of our Tri-M association here at Fairfield High School, and I've been asked to read since I'm on the board. So, for 40 years, March has been officially designated by the National Association for Music Education as Music in Our Schools Month, otherwise known as the acronym MIOSM, encouraging communities across the nation to focus on music education. Music education is a part of a well-rounded education for every student, as outlined in the Every Student Succeeds Act. The purpose of this celebration is to raise awareness of the lasting positive impact of music education on the academic, personal, and professional growth of our students. Music education shapes the way students understand themselves and the world around them, allowing for a deep engagement with learning. Music in Our Schools Month reminds us that school is where all children should have access to music and music educators. Pardon me. Students in communities throughout Iowa demonstrate the importance of quality music education programs to the lives of young people. Please join our music students, educators, and community in celebrating the power of music education. Therefore, I, Tristan Garrettson, FCSD Board of Education Student Representative, do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Music in Our Schools Month in Fairfield, Iowa, and encourage all citizens to celebrate and acknowledge every day, but especially in March, that music education is an essential part of every student's well-rounded education.
Cool. That's great. Thank you. All right. Let's move along to our consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Dave?
Second.
David Marks? Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda carries. And we'll move along to public participation. Do we have-
Any of you guys want to speak?
We're with the city.
Okay, so
So-
later when,
Yeah.
okay.
Here to help.
So it sounds like no public participation
Public
tonight.
comment.
Okay. So we'll move along to new business. 7.1, do I hear a motion to approve the board policies at the second reading?
So moved.
Second?
Deborah and Christie. Any discussion here? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 7.2, approval of capital improvement bids for fiscal year 26 asphalt bid. Do I hear a motion to approve Norris Asphalt paving in the amount of $76,565 for the Pence Back parking lot project?
So moved.
Second.
Deborah and Mark Porter. Any discussion here? You guys see the bid?
Did we go over this in facilities, Evan? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, so we reached out to 2 other companies. Most of them were up in like northwestern, north central Iowa.
Yep.
And they stated that if they were to transport all the supplies down here, it would not be a good product by the time they arrived.
Yep.
So therefore, we only received 1 bid from Norris. It was about $1,500 over the original budget, but we came in 15 grand under on the gym floor project.
Okay.
So we were just kind of shifting the budget prioritization. So the overall conceptual budget is not over.
So when will this be completed then?
By the end of the summer, by the start of school.
And is this comparable to like last year's?
Yeah, so we budgeted 75,000, based off
Last year's,
standard
okay,
bids,
got
last
it.
year's bid, so $1,500
Went up a
increase
little
does
bit.
not seem
Okay.
too much different.
And this is so what all will this cover at Pence then?
So it'd be the back, forget what side of the building, the back parking lot that's all gravel right now, and
Yep.
we put in that asphalt.
Yep.
There are a bunch of teachers parked back there.
Yep.
It should also assist us with some of our workman comp insurance.
And that makes a difference in the work comp rates.
Yeah, I mean, it's safer places for, that we can clear and salt and plow for snow and stuff as well.
Okay, any other questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business 7.3, do I hear a motion to approve the professional services contracts for the 2025-2026 school year as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Porter and Thornton. Any discussion, any questions?
So why do we have to vote on this separately then?
Because for Sarah, it's a newly structured position.
Yep.
Based on Jeff moving into a slash role. We're gonna up her a little bit in more of a salary type position as opposed to a hourly. And then in the consent agenda, I don't know if you saw, but hopefully you did, we're moving away from the difference between a 9-month secretary and a 12-month secretary as far as the hourly wage goes. Because it doesn't make sense to me for 9 months of the year, people are doing the exact same job, but because one of them works all year, they get more money during the school year. So we got rid of that as well. So now they'll all, where they fall based on their years of service, but they'll be in that upper bracket. But with Sarah, just the amount of time that she puts in and maybe some of the new things she's gonna have to pick up, we up this. It's not a ton more than she was making with overtime and hourly, but it's a step in the right direction.
That's what I was getting ready to ask. Jeff's job kind of changing a little bit this next year. Is she going to have to pick up some of those responsibilities that he was doing then?
Yeah, I think, yes, she should, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed
I recuse myself.
and abstained or
Yeah.
recused? One, aye. All right, motion carries. Superintendent, oh, sorry, new
7.4. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to speak to this a little bit first, so you can kind of give them a rundown.
I will introduce it.
Can we get a motion in a second first?
Yeah, so we have 7.4,
Sunrise Trail Agreement.
the Sunrise Trail Agreement, to approve it. Do I hear a motion to approve the Sunrise Trail Agreement as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Deborah and Christie. And any discussion?
She can discuss now.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for adding us to the agenda. My name is Melanie Carlson, Public Works Director with the City of Fairfield. I have Rebecca Loper, our city clerk, with us. She knows a lot of the ins and outs of the document, but I'm here to talk about the development and really why we're here. So if you have not heard, the city has been approached by Grow Fairfield, formerly FIDA, to work on housing development on the south side of town, south of the daycare center. And the first phase of the development includes 32 single-family lots. There's actually 3 phases, I think nearing 60 lots by the time all 3 phases are done. For the city to participate in this, the first phase would include around $2 million of infrastructure needs, including the water, sewer, and streets for this first phase. To pay for that infrastructure, the city wishes to use tax increment financing, or TIF, which uses the new taxes from the houses within the development to pay back the money that the $2 million that the city would borrow to pay for that infrastructure. With the projected valuation of those 32 homes, it's a projected payback period of 15 years. So we are here to request that the district, and we have made this request from the county already, allow us to increase from the state minimum of 10 years to 15 years. I will say, make note that we have many 15 years TIFs already in this community. The state just recently changed the rules that we have to come ask special permission when we increase from 10 to 15. So many of the developments take 10 or more than 10 years for payback. It's not uncommon. everything is increasing at the same rate, the houses and the infrastructure. So it's more a matter of the state changing the rules than necessarily how the subdivision is laid out or anything. It's as to why we're here for this special request. So, any other questions? I might have to bring Rebecca up here, but that's what I can speak to tonight.
I think that certainly, I think that we should support this in the payback period. Certainly 10 years is probably too long for a $2 million project. We just have to understand that as a school district, there's two risks to TIF financing, and that we're extending our exposure for 5 more years, as I understand it. So the first one is that it's called overcapture. So the land that this is being developed on would increase in value anyway. And so we're overcapturing that and taking it out of our revenue stream. Okay? It's sometimes a difficult concept. It's sort of like this would have happened anyway. And the last one is that the city obtains the tax revenue for this to pay off these bonds. We don't get that tax revenue. So potentially our revenue streams to support our budget could go down.
Or we would have to increase the levy.
Or we'd have to increase the levy, yes, that is correct. Now, on the plus side of this, as I understand it, I mean, this plot of land is probably marginal to the whole valuation that we get in our school district. And certainly the upside of providing housing relief to our community could potentially help our school district. You know, enrollment, attract the families. We have a lot of people that are commuting into the district that don't live here because we all recognize we face housing shortages or quality housing. So, in my perspective, as long as we understand the effects of this and extending our exposure for 5 years, then I think we can vote for it. So that's my pitch.
No, you did a great job explaining TIF. So normally I have to draw diagrams in order to explain TIF, so I appreciate it. The one thing I will say as far as overcapturing is Rebecca is required to certify the debt each year. So that if we don't have the debt, we're not certifying anything. So we're not we're not collecting the money just to collect it. It's only going for this infrastructure unless we do another set of hearings like this in order to do phase 2 or other things within the area.
There's a lot more transparency surrounding TIF than there were several years ago, where the city ran into some trouble with.
The city of Burlington particularly, yes, yeah.
So what currently approving this, what kind of effect would that have on our revenue stream in the near term in the next 5 years?
We can't say for sure. We just have to be okay with it potentially taking away from it a little bit. So
but it would still be minimal though, right?
Correct.
It's like it didn't
The
happen.
value of housing would far exceed.
correct.
Yes.
That's the assumption,
Yeah.
Yep.
you know.
We're a high property value district, so it should be a pretty small chunk of a very large district. Just my 2 cents, I think it's a no-brainer. If anyone's gonna support this, the schools need to support it. Schools and housing feed into each other so much, so.
Housing is one of our biggest concerns in this community, so.
How confident are you that 15 years is enough? Does that pose a problem if, costs of everything could just skyrocket? We don't know.
According to our financial advisor, it
Okay.
will work.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns?
The other good news is that with this approval and then some action by city council that we're gonna go to right after this, we should be ready to go to bids within a month. and start turning dirt on the subdivision yet this year. So
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
maybe even some houses starting construction this fall, so.
Oh my God.
You
Yep.
said right now there's a commitment to build 32 houses?
It's 32 lots. So Grove Fairfield is being the developer, working on the houses. And I would need Ed Malloy here to discuss more on that. I believe there's a commitment to 10 the first year.
Yes.
I believe.
Okay, I was like, I had to miss that part of the Grove Fairfield presentation the other day, so.
So how are you guys financing that then? Is it actually,
FIDA, I believe, has investors, and they have some pre-sold lots as well,
okay.
so.
Okay.
Grove Fairfield,
It's fantastic.
Thanks, Melanie.
thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to, on the table here to approve the Sunrise Trail Agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, that's it for new business.
That's the sign, one for them to sign.
Superintendent updates?
Yeah. Signatures. I'm gonna start with something that happened a couple of weeks ago on the 28th of February. We had our first TQ event, TQ Day, Teacher Quality Planned Learning Experience, and we invited over 100 community members, business leaders, and they joined us for a really good keynote by a Fairfield resident who has done a lot in just promoting public schools and highlighting the need for strong community support. And so he did a great job setting the tone, and then we broke up into smaller groups, got a lot of great ideas down on paper at every building. TQ committee came back together last week looking at how we can continue to move forward with some of the ideas and things that came from that work. And so April 18th will be our next day that we have specifically carved out for that teacher quality work. So that was really exciting. Kindergarten Roundup will be on Monday, the 24th of March. Looking forward to that. You kind of highlighted this already, but just wanted to showcase our jazz choir. What's the name of it?
Jazz X.
Yeah, Jazz X. They'll be going up on April 2nd, I think. Is it a Wednesday maybe? To Dallas Center Grimes or ADM, one of the two, to compete. For a state championship. They had to submit their audition tapes to get selected. They were one of 8 3A schools that got picked. So that's a big accomplishment and a shout out there. Wanted to highlight just again the work that Evan has put in as we've sifted through the different insurance brokers. Not really insurance brokers, the brokers that help facilitate our plan moving forward to a self-funded model for all things health plan wise. And so we have identified True North as the broker that's going to be utilized, and we're going to meet with them, Evan and I, Friday to really start laying out the plan and how we best communicate this. I'm going to share it with the entire staff. Evan and I will create something that goes out probably midweek that captures why we selected them and kind of how the next month or so will look moving forward, because it's going to be a huge shift. And I think the important piece that we need to make sure we do a really good job of is creating an experience for all of our staff members as they get onboarded in this process, so they feel competent and able to make decisions and move forward with what this looks like, because it's new. I think somebody hit on this too, maybe in your update, Ty, but we just completed our middle school marketing video and really going to highlight all of the co-curricular, extracurricular activities. That'll be going out. I don't know if it'll go out later this week or right when we get back from spring break, but then we're going to focus on Pence next. We're going to highlight some of the growth around their Leader in Me work, kind of that theme around the mountains and climbing to the top in regards to growth. And then we'll move to the high school to really capture and highlight the offerings that we have both on a concurrent kind of front and in the CTE world. One thing I wanted to make sure you guys all were aware, and I talked with Megan about this, but on the calendars that were approved, we had the wrong date for Memorial Day 2027. So it's actually May 31st. We had it the week prior. So that's all been changed and updated, but just know that was something that nobody caught as we sifted through all the different people that were looking at it. So Memorial Day is a week later, which means graduation would move a week later, which means the seniors' last day moves a week up as well. So wanted to make sure y'all heard that. Was able to get to the middle school play this past week. A lot of fun. Very, very talented kids. Enjoyed that space. So I know Tina does a really good job directing and working with kids and devoting time for that. So it was an exciting thing. We've got 3 family engagement nights this week. Tomorrow, both Washington and the high school. Tristan kind of alluded to what they were doing at the high school. And then Thursday night will be Pence's. Quick staffing update. We're doing really good. We've got one we interviewed for special education at the high school. That's our last one at the high school to fill, potentially, depending on this other piece I'm going to share with you. And then we still have a 2nd grade opening that we're interviewing for later this week. But then that should really get us all of our teachers for next year already hired. And when contracts go out Friday, they'll have, 21 days to sign. And again, hopefully we get all those back so we can lock it in and be ready to go for next year. Community support specialist. This was a position that Four Oaks had under their umbrella. We contracted with Four Oaks. This person really works to ensure all families that need extra support can find it. And so this position was moving to us and under our umbrella. So we were going to assume this contract, have a little bit more control as to how it looks, what it supports. But the individual that was in that role is leaving the state, and so we've posted that. We've got some applicants that we're going to be screening this week to hopefully backfill that, as it was part of our budget, and it is an important piece to our families that really do need some additional support. Another unique opportunity is what's called a college career transition counselor. This is something that community colleges started probably 6 years ago, 5 years ago, through some grants. Fairfield hasn't been a part of it before, but all of our surrounding districts pretty much do utilize a CCTC. And so I had explored sharing with Mount Pleasant, but that's not going to work. So we are in the process of finalizing an agreement with Indian Hills and Ottumwa, which would mean we're going to share this position with Ottumwa. It'll generate 2 students for us from a sharing dollar standpoint. The money that we had earmarked for IJAG, we're going to use that specifically towards this position now. The goal would be to have this person on site at least 3 days a week. Most of the work would be with 8th graders and up. Our vision for what this looks like would be supporting our district career and academic planning, support for kids, our work-based learning, potentially some caseloads as well of specific, maybe first-gen college students. We can really craft how this looks based on our needs, but then this individual would be in Ottumwa 1 day a week at their alternative high school. So the other piece I'm working on with Indian Hills, which they haven't done before, is they're on a 4-day work week. They have been since the late 70s, but they still work 40 hours. So I'm trying to figure out, well, can we work 40 hours over 5 days so we get them here 4 days a week instead of 3? So we'll see if that works. But we've had some great conversations there. Again, another support for our students as we move forward.
And we're still gonna have IJAG, right?
Correct. IJAG has essentially communicated to us that they're going to have the specialist in the space free of charge. So we're not going to have to spend a dime for that support at the high school. So, yeah.
Cool. Does the Four Oaks position cover the whole K through 12? Okay.
PK-12, yeah. So it works with all 4 buildings. Has a caseload, for lack of a better way to say it. Oversees all of our food pantry stuff. Won't be on a teacher contract. It's a different type of contract. So.
Any other questions? Any updates? Okay. Guys are quiet tonight. I'll have to make you talk.
Yeah, the other thing, just thinking about April's meeting,
Oh,
the
yeah.
21st, normal board meeting, but then
We have
we'll
the
go
hearing.
to closed session
Oh, yeah,
to,
yeah.
for my kind of year-end evaluation. We've got March 24th, special hearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Public hearings.
2 public hearings on the 24th as well, so.
All right, good.
So what does that look like as far as us prepping for that?
Right, do we have a,
Do we need a
We have our-
work session in April to do that, or how does that work?
well, I mean, last time we kind of had our homework, right? Kind of took it home.
Yeah, I'm
I
up for
don't know
whatever
if
you
we
guys
want
want
to
to do.
have a workshop, I mean, we can at least in a work session maybe identify, I guess, our process again. Or I can just work to provide you guys with some documents. So we are kind of all evaluating, I think we're evaluating the same.
Yeah, all 10 standards,
Yeah.
but those 3 specific ones that I'm gonna provide artifacts for, so I'll have a document that has links to all the different things that I think I've done, that I have done, that, you know, people have shared that would fall underneath those specific priorities that you guys identified at the start of the year. And then it would be up to you to kind of justify whether or not I've met those other standards as well.
If one of the board members can't be there that night, I mean, how do you want to handle that, or do you still want to just kind of go through and have it that night? Or I have concerns about being at that meeting. Is the only
Sure.
reason I ask.
I would say just make sure you submit anything that you would like to have shared or communicated in that closed session to Megan ahead of time.
Yep.
But I'm okay having it if not everyone's here, if you guys are.
I'm gonna do my best to be there. It's
Yeah.
just my work schedule's very weather dependent that month, so.
For sure.
I'm not gonna be able to be there, because
Okay.
we're taking a trip, so.
Yep.
There was a recent IASB, hour-long seminar. I think it's probably something we can all watch in our own time if you want, just on how to go through an evaluation. So since we're all of us fairly new to this, it might be worth.
It was in the brief that went out Friday, wasn't it? This last Friday? Or no?
It might have been,
Okay.
yeah. I don't always read those all the way
No,
through.
that's all right.
So if we're not.
but I'll send it
If
out.
we're not here, just submit something in writing to,
To Megan.
Yeah, why don't you send it to me and I'll make sure it gets,
Okay.
processed through during the review. So, I don't know if we're having a work session, we've moved away from that, but are we gonna continue to move away from that for the next month? Seems like it.
I would like to, unless you want to have one
Concerns.
specifically to get ready for this. That would be the only.
I just thought it might be helpful, since most of us haven't really done it before, so, but it's up to you guys.
I mean, I've only done it once, so
And then we just did it that night. I think we can probably do it in one day.
yeah.
I'm hearing that you would like to have a meeting.
No, I'm good
Okay.
either way, I'm good with
Okay.
whatever, I just thought people might feel a little more comfortable, but if everybody's good with it, I'm good with it.
Anybody else feeling like? Okay, so maybe
So
we'll just do some
just
extra
to be
homework.
clear, you two that have been through it before, you don't think a work session is necessary?
I mean, there's really not a whole lot to talk about other than just, maybe go through what the standards are that, we plan to discuss, I think.
Yeah, most of the talking will be around his artifacts that he would provides, underneath
there's-
all of them and just kind of judging those and, yeah.
So we could do that in a closed session, is what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to get you those artifacts or that document that's connected to those priority standards ahead of time, so you don't, before the 21st, so you have access to them.
Okay,
Sounds good.
So I think the work session is.
I don't think it sounds like we'll move on without it, and we'll just have our committee meetings. Okay. Let's see. Let's start with highlights over here. Christy?
Sure. I feel like I have a lot this week. Obviously, hiring our new principal at Washington is super exciting. Heather, I grew up with her, and getting her back to our district is, I think, really exciting for everybody in our community. So that was definitely a highlight. I also got to go sit in on Mr. Clem's class and watch a couple of presentations there, and I was really impressed by the kids and just, you know, how much work they put into it, and really, it was really thoughtful. And they also asked some questions of me as a board member, and just seemed really, you know, interested in what we do and, you know, how it all ties into them. And, you know, they asked some questions about, you know, whether or not we were gonna try to get their new middle school built again and things like that. And so it was a really good experience. So yeah, if you guys get the chance or whatever to sit in on a class, I would highly recommend it.
Thanks. Mark?
I think my highlight will be the insurance stuff. I sat in one of the presentations, and just the work that Evan and Zach have both put into knowing and learning and being able to answer questions, and then also presenting the unknowns. Like, I think that was a good job of both of you of knowing what teachers are going to ask and staff are going to ask. So just thanks for all the work on putting together for that. So I think that'll be a huge step for us to finally wrap some of that up and show some changes and some savings. And yeah, so I think that's a good step in the right direction.
Great. Ty?
It's early, but I already want to say ditto to both of the people that already said stuff. Yeah, I'm very excited. I could go on for half an hour about how excited I am about having Mrs. Buckley in our district. It's going to be awesome. And then, yeah, the insurance stuff, that's a huge thing that you guys have done. And it's going to be a big overhaul. And I love that you spent so much time on it, so much thought on it. There's been a lot of really thoughtful discussion around that's great. But since Tristan put this in front of me, and it's Music in Our Schools Month, I'm going to actually talk about a couple weeks ago. There was like a band and a choir thing that we went to, and I spend most of my time with sports with my kids. And so, like, when we actually go to the band concert and the choir stuff, it just really blows me away how you know, how much work goes into that, how much you can tell the kids are really enjoying it. And I really love our music and our choir programs. I think that you know, the kids have a great time, and they're so super important. And you know, while sports may give you like kind of discipline and routine type of skills, you can tell the arts are giving them, you know, creativity and free thinking and kind of playfulness. And it really helps our kids be very well rounded, and I see that in my own kids. So I just want to give a shout out to our music programs. It's great.
I thought you were going to sing that highlight when you
Actually, when he said it up there,
Everybody would.
I'd move
We
to
might pay
adjourn.
to see that.
Move to adjourn.
Cool. Tristan?
I know Townsend isn't here anymore, but I really liked her presentation, and especially how it highlighted that I think she said first grade reading had improved. And I also like to see that all the kids felt safe in the school and that they had precautions for stuff like that. That I think is really important to have in a school district. So I'm glad that she had those, and that was honestly my main highlight of the meeting.
Cool. Thanks. Mark?
I would definitely echo everything that everyone else has said so far, but you know, first and foremost, I'd like to bring up Tina Townsend. I think she was in the district for 4 years, you know, and I've really enjoyed getting to know her the last several years. She's done a great job at Washington, and I think she's brought a wealth of experience to our district, so I really would like to say thank you to her for that. And then the other thing is, you know, you guys talked about having all the teaching positions filled. There's been times I've been on this board, and we've been still scrambling with that in June and July, so the fact that that's taken care of really puts our district in a good place. So I really appreciate all the work that all our administration has done with that to get us in a good place there. And then the house with Grow Fairfield, you know, that's a really big step for the community in the right direction. So we've been talking about for 3 years how we need to start getting houses built in this town. I'm glad that, you know, we can do our small part to help, you know, assist in that, you know, and hopefully they make good progress with that, because that'll be a good, great move for the community. So I'm looking forward to all that. So
Great. Thank you. Mr. Eastburn?
Well, first of all, to echo what Christy said, on February 26th, I went to Larissa Tyler's class and did mock interviews with the students, and had a wonderful time. They were very motivated, they were well prepared, very dedicated, willing to learn, And it was a very enjoyable experience. And if you ever get a chance to do those things, you really should. It's a lot of fun. So that, echoing what she said. Once again, very good job for the hiring team, and I'm very excited to have Heather, Mrs. Buckley in the district, and I think it's going to be a really good thing for our kids and our district going forward. Tomorrow morning we have our finance committee. We're going to talk about the nutrition program, the preschool enterprise fund, and title program. So we're going to drill down into the budget a little bit, see about the health of those programs. And final one question: policy committee. That's on Friday at 8, or is it because something about over the noon hour and through
That's facilities.
Facilities. Okay, I misread. So Friday at 8. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thanks. And Deborah.
Agree with everything said, but I also want to highlight Tristan's amazing report about what's going on at the high school. As you were listing it on and on and on, I'm thinking, is this a small town? Is this honestly a town of just 10,000 people? Because it sounded like you were describing a much larger district. It was very, very exciting and very gratifying to hear all that's going on. I would love to have a high schooler right now, just put them in the school.
Yeah, I agree. It's on my notes here. I really appreciated hearing from Tristan with the updates. So looking forward to that next month as well. I think one thing that I really appreciated that Tina shared was the collaboration between the high school science and their kids. And I feel like we're seeing that a little bit more. And again, with the choir and band concerts, I just love that the buildings are kind of reaching out to each other and connecting the kids and connecting the programs, and I think that really will help, create a really nice, unity and cohesion, and just kind of shows the kids like, they always look up to the older kids, so it gives them something to look forward to, and I think it's just such a great thing that we are, it's just happening. One other thing, just in the consent agenda, there's always the donations, and they just they get passed, but I just wanted to note, just our appreciation for all of those donations all the time. This month we had very generous donations from Chuck and Jen Espy for the Milk Fund, so thank you to them, and to Dean and Deb Foster for the Negative Lunch Balance Fund, and it's just great that we have that support from the community always coming through. I think that's it. So up next, we can adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you.
I move.
What would we do without Evan?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
And we
All in
vote.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now you guys.
Thank you, baby.
Sorry.